Chris Duffin, thanks so much for joining us. First off, congratulations on your 1,001 pound squat triple. You really just had to go for the extra pound, didn't you? That mattered.
I did. That was actually a last minute decision because I was sitting there, we're loading the bar, and I'm like, take it to 1,001 because that's actually what I did when I did my deadlift. It was 1,001 as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, let's just match this. Sounds better. I don't know. Like at that point, what does a pound matter? So.
Well, I mean, it matters a lot. You were training to do something no one's ever done before. So I assume you were looking for every boost you could. Maybe that pound would be the one that broke the camel's back, literally. Does 1,000 pounds at that level? I mean, obviously you were doing warm-ups in the 900 range, and you've been doing that for months. You've been squatting 900 plus pounds for
6 to 9 reps total a week for months and months and months. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, take me inside. Like, does 1,000 pounds feel different than 900 pounds? Because if you added 10% to my max squat, right, it would feel heavier, but it wouldn't feel that much heavier. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So it once you start getting into those weights, people want to look at things as a percentage of max. Mm-hmm. And it just is not the same world when you start playing with weights that actually start having a huge impact on your body. So we're talking shutting down your ability to just like breathe under load. I had 3 weeks where I passed out under the bar just because too much tension was shutting off the carotid artery in my neck. And so as soon as I would start descending, like I would start going blank, and you can see my training videos at the top. I'm sitting there, my legs are wobbly as I'm about ready to, fall out from under the bar. So they're grabbing it, throwing it in the rack. And that stuff didn't really start coming into play till like over 950 pounds. Like below that, I wasn't experiencing that, but just that much weight, it goes beyond just the muscle. Like other things in the body start like responding completely differently. And it's just intense. Like, one of the comments on the post was from Eric Lillibridge, who's another 1,000-pound squatter, and somebody was saying something about the lift, and Eric's like, "You have no idea unless you've gotten under 1,000 pounds, like what that does to your body, and it's just different. I don't know how to describe it. So it's like you just standing up with it in a rack is intense, let alone the squatting part. And like I said, as soon as you do, it's like it just wants to crush you, and like trying to like breathe under it. And I didn't even know if I was gonna, I was still having, so I had the passing out issues for 3 weeks. So I was only able to hit singles or doubles. And so that affected my cardiovascular because I wanted to be training in the 3 to 4 rep range, right, in that final stages. And I just couldn't. And then, so the last couple workouts, I was noticing that I was having a huge drop off after my first rep because I wasn't able to get my breath in. Like the first rep was so easy. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. And then I would barely get the second rep in my workouts because I was already getting drained from lack of oxygen. And it's different. I mean, just think about, the oxygen or breathing part of it too, component is the diaphragm descending down to create all this pressure internally to support and stabilize your spine, right? So those demands just go through the roof the more weight you add on, right? So, and that's the same resource. Like if I do a couple reps with those heavy loads, it feels like I just did a 20 rep squat max. Well, maybe not quite that, but it feels like I went for like a 400-meter sprint or something like really demanding on that type of energy system that I actually didn't touch because I only did a couple reps. But it feels the same way when you're done because you're literally like 5 minutes later, you're still breathing heavy, trying to recover because you actually fatigue the same resources that are used for respiration, just in a different way. So it's really nutty.
How does your body feel, today, a few days later, but also in the immediate aftermath of that squat set? How do you feel compared to when you did the 1,001 pound deadlift for a double, almost triple about 4 years ago?
Yeah. Surprisingly, well, not surprising to me, but it's surprising to most people. And the same thing on the deadlift is it was really easy. Like the recovery, like I went home and I felt great. The next day I felt great. I feel good right now. mental, I mean, there's a little bit of mental fog and other stuff kind of clearing, but um, because the training was brutal. To get through what I did for months on end, like, was so emotionally, mentally, physically taxing, working around issues. But I, I did 3 reps with one of them being hard, and that was it, right? On that event day, even though that was the maximal, but every session leading to that, I was in a fatigued state, training, hitting multiple sets at close to failure over and over and over again, and then coming back to the next week and doing the same thing. So the training was absolute hell. And it's not something I want to ever do again. But that makes, like, when you go to do the event, even though it's like, oh my God, that must have been just so hard on you. If you do the prep right, it makes the event easy.
Right. Okay. I have to ask, when we were talking about your training for this on the BarBend podcast a couple months ago, you talked about how at that point, 2-3 months out, it was all squatting. You weren't touching a barbell in any other capacity. You weren't even doing really sets of push-ups, to keep upper body hypertrophy going. You were just all in on the squat.
Yeah, I think it was about somewhere in the 8 to 10 week week out part that I started cutting all that out.
Have you trained since your squat? We're recording this, I think, 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah.
Have you trained since your squat? If so, what did you do? And if not, what is the first thing you want to do when you get back into the gym?
Well, I do have a little bit of a surprise in there. So,
okay.
So I may as well disclose it. So we'll see. But I have not trained. And that's the world right now. There's just a lot of crazy stuff going on. We just shut our gym down. There's a lot of other things kind of to focus on at the moment. We'll say that.
Yeah.
So, like, being anxious, like, I got to get back into the gym, not really that. So, but I do have, like, a couple last things I want to do before, like, my body weight starts coming down. So I plan on starting to lean back out and getting down into a normal area where I do a lot of my work and be more of a movement professional, if you call that. But because I got fat for this, like, as fat as I could get anyway. If I could have gotten fatter, I would have gotten fatter. So, but I tried my hardest. As a side note, the day after the squat, I didn't eat the entire day, and then I had a really light dinner, probably 500 calories total for the day. Because I was like, it was the first day I didn't have to force feed. And like 4 months, I'm like, this is so amazing.
It's like, I was just gonna say, it's like when you see, like, an NFL lineman retire, and then you see them, like, 6 months later, they've just immediately dropped 100 pounds. Yeah. They're like, thank God, I can stop eating.
I don't have to do this anymore.
Oh my God.
That was one thing I hate. My body does not like being at this weight, and so it's it's work for me. But so sometime in about roughly a month or so after I did the deadlift, I did a 7-plate, 675-pound deadlift for reps. And I did it for 20 reps sumo. And then I turned around and did 10 more conventional, which I probably could have done 20 if I hadn't pre-exhausted myself.
I remember that. It was kind of a call out to the haters in many ways. Like, yes, I can lift conventional. Okay.
Yeah. And so anyway, I want to do kind of the same thing with a 700-pound squat. So,
oh, wow.
And so we're actually going to retire the bar that I've been lifting on, hang it up on the wall at the gym. But it has one set left in it right now. And that's going to be to see how many reps I can hit with 700.
I was going to say, do you have a rep, like a number of reps in mind, or is it just like till failure? Just go?
It's till failure. Like, I'd love to say I could do 20, but realistically, the squat just takes so much more energy reserves than a deadlift does, that my cardiovascular, my wind is going to be the limiting factor, because I have not been training that very well, right? I've been training everything in a 30-second window.
You gotta really trust your spotters for this one, which I know you do. I know you have a great crew at Kabuki, but
yeah. Well, for the 700, the gym's closed, so it's just going to be me by myself. I'll have to walk it out, squat it till I fail. So I'm going to do it in the monolift, so I have straps, so that if I can't get it back in the rack, I'll just dump it in the strap. So, cause yeah, uh, it's the lifting with partners is done right now.
Well, the last thing I do want to talk a little bit about is, the you were supposed to do this at a conference
Yeah.
this month. You obviously stuck to the schedule because you can't like retrain your body to do this. This is pretty much your one shot. You've been working to this for literally years. So you basically did it on a live stream with a few
Yeah.
spotters for safety, obviously, but a closed gym. Did that
Yeah.
change?
Closed facility. We only had staff present.
Yeah.
We made sure that we were within the limits of our requirements, which
Uh-huh.
actually changed. Just like, again, like it was so like the event got canceled, so we rescheduled the event. Then we had to close the event because of all the changes to
Mm-hmm.
keep the number of people within requirements. And we want to do all the right things, but
Right.
at the same time, like I've been training for 4 years for this, and I basically have to do it right now because everything could be shut down any day,
Right.
and we're not going to work around that or do any things around it. But that means one, my training can't continue if I don't think I could have extended it. Like my body, my mind, everything was just, it was done. It's either I got to do it this week or it's never going to happen. Like,
Right.
and that's like, I spent 4 years prepping for this, and specifically a year in planning for that date. And so it was kind of really surreal in the mix of all this. But at the same time, I felt that the messaging that I'm trying to share with what I do needed to be heard now more than ever, because it is all about like, gaining what control you have, in your life over the things that you can impact, and, setting goals and understanding that you can overcome the, obstacles and, struggles are going to be part of all of our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and not letting it own you, and being, knowing that you're going to come out the other end, you're going to be resilient. And, it's all about like goal setting, realization, all these sorts of things. And, I've written my book on it, The Eagle and the Dragon, but I want to show that in the real world. And that's why I do some of these things. It's paired, we pair it with charity, because those are things I believe in. By the way, the shirts are still for sale. 100% of proceeds go to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Foundation, available on our site. So, but the bigger piece is that message that I'm trying to show people, and through my actions, through my work. And man, the outpouring of messages that I got, like not just, the thousands of comments online, but like I probably have like 500 individual messages at least of people talking to me about, overcoming addiction problems, death, divorces, like all these things in their life while they've been following me, and how it's helped them, how the stories, the content, like all this has been life changing for the. And so it was, I posted a very emotional crying video. A lot of that was because I was reading these messages at the time, and it was just like, I obviously was in a very emotional state, having just completed something that I've worked so long on.
Your nervous system was a little fired up.
A little fired up. And then I'm reading this, like, these life-changing like experiences that people have had, or, in some way been, maybe not like, some way been touched and had an impact on people. And I'm like, thank you. Like, thank you for sharing. Thank you, because this is why I'm doing it. I'm not sure that people always understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're just a lifter for the gram, or you're just whatever. And it's like, no, there's a reason I pick these nasty, gnarly goals that like anybody would think is like, and try to work around and make that happen. So it was a really powerful moment for me, with so many people that have followed me for, some of them were like 2 decades, because I've been online since, posted my content or my training since like 2003 or 2002, something like that. And there was, people from way back, like been following you for 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, whatever it is. And this is, why I do it. This is why I follow you. And, thank you. And so it was just, it was huge for me.
Well, Chris Duffin, thanks so much for taking some time to explain a little bit about the why behind these lifts, because I think that's important to delve into. You're not doing this in a competition. You're not doing this to, break a powerlifting record. You're doing this for many other and some would argue more impactful reasons. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us today.
Yeah, I did the competition thing for a long, long time, and I'm past that. So the reason I do what I do and the choices I make is for how I want to impact the world. And so yeah.
Well, we're really excited to. I get this might be a BarBend exclusive when we release this about your upcoming set of 700 pounds in the back squat. So looking forward to that one last ride on that Duffalo bar. So best of luck with that, and stay safe during a tumultuous time. And really, really appreciate your time here.
Thank you.